Check it out. I'm in this native environment with all of these people that are trying to adapt or die to the new conditions. They are searching for the new normal. Check this out. See this guy right here working in the corner? He's smiling. I think he caught on that he might be seeing his native habitat. That's a real human working at a cubicle, trying to figure out whether he's gonna figure out how to survive in this new work environment or not. Look at this guy right here. See, his legs, they're nervously shaking. They're bobbling back and forth. I don't think he's gonna make it. Look at all these humans in here. Look at, they're casting all these weird looks at me right now. They're wondering, will I even be able to survive the change in this work environment? Why am I still in office? Why aren't I working from home? Well, today we're gonna talk about adapt or die and how you adjust with these 3 critical maneuvers.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Guess what? We got problems in the world today. People are doing really crazy, unpredictable things. Things that don't even make sense, where you question their sanity and you're like, wow, that's thousands of dollars. You're absolutely stupid. Are you committing a federal offense? I didn't burn it. Right now we're talking about adapting or dying. 3 steps to conquering any obstacle. Because guess what? The world's on fire. So no, today I'm not doing a video like I would on how to build wealth or how to make money in real estate. We're gonna talk about the real wealth, the wealth between your 2 ears. We're gonna talk about what's gotta shift and change in here if you're actually gonna make it, and not just make it, but absolutely crush it. Listen. There were pre-pandemic 51 million millionaires in the world. Post-pandemic, that number increased by 10%. 5.2 new millionaires hit the globe. So while it was the worst of time and a lot of people died metaphorically, financially, and literally.
You want to die? Yeah. When you're old? Yeah.
There were other people that were thriving. In fact, it's because of this quote right here from some old Greek philosopher dude that said that the only constant in life is change. That was said by Heraclitus. You take a stab and comment on how that's supposed to be pronounced. Okay, well, listen, we just gotta hang in there for the normal to return, right? Like everything's going back to normal. Things will go back to the way they were. I'm sorry, hello, there is no returning to normal. This really is as mythical as that Greek person. Normal is over. Do you respond to change with fear or do you embrace it? That's really the question for today's video, because you know what most people are doing? They're afraid and they're on hopium that we're gonna go back to the way that things were. Instead, you've got to figure out how to adapt and say, if this is my new environment, if this is the new world, then how do I take advantage of it? Because I want you to understand something. When big problems emerge, it terrifies most people, but not these 4 Goliaths.
The skull of Goliath. Hey!
Right here, I've got 4 of the most successful companies in the world, and their market cap, it increased substantially. And I want you to ask yourself why. Google went up $262 billion. That's $250 billion. And of course, Tesla went up over $500 billion. Amazon went up $718 billion, and Apple increased over $1 trillion. Why did they fare so well? Did they adapt? Were they poised for what happened in the world? What are you doing about it? I'm going to tell you right now that the moment the pandemic struck, I pulled my company together, all the leadership, and I said, hey, we literally have a massive problem. And they were all like, yeah, we know, Kris, like this is the end. What are we going to do? Are we going to start laying people off? How are we going to adjust to this? I said, no. You don't get it. This is called winter. And it always goes in the economy, spring, summer, fall, winter, right? Spring is when new things emerge. Summer is when they grow. Fall is when you harvest, and winter is when things hibernate or die. We are now in winter. People are terrified of winter, but winter, frankly, for any entrepreneur, for any person, it's the most exciting time to be alive. You know why? Because it determines who the new big dogs are going to be. That's when in the global financial crisis, we gave birth in 2008 to Airbnbs that literally almost overnight took Marriott by storm. Or you've got Uber that literally became the largest taxi company on the planet, doesn't even own a single taxi. Big problems create opportunities in winter for the new Goliaths in the spring. And that should be you. So today I want to share with you the 3 tips for overcoming any obstacle. This is what those large companies did. This is what you can do as a person. This is a time for you to reinvent. This is a time for you to reach higher. This is a time for you to level up your game. So the first of the 3 tips is, number 1, you've got to reset your expectations. In other words, you got to embrace that you're not going back to the what was or the what used to be. You got to say, if this is my new environment, how do I crush it in this kind of atmosphere? That means that you got to reevaluate your budget. And you might have to rethink that. You might have to spend more, you might have to spend less. Priorities. You might have to drop some things and make room for other things. And finally, your network, the people that you know, the people that you're connecting with. Do you have to shift and change that around so that you can win in this new set of circumstances that you've been dealt? Of course, we're not just talking about a pandemic. We're just talking about the natural flow of life, right? Like, oh, I became an empty nester and my kids left the house, or someone molested me, or my business just died, or someone left me a lot of money after they died. Like, life changes. We move from one season to the next, and as change happens, which is that only constant, the question is, are you really prepared to deal with it? And you got to start by just first accepting it and just saying, all right, if this is the way it's going to be, how do I win in this new environment? Because you know the people who get screwed? They're the ones who follow that adage for insanity from Albert Einstein. I do the same thing over and over again. I'm hoping for a different result. That is insane. Listen, once you set proper expectations, you need to move on to step 2. You got to develop new habits that are going to serve you for this new set of circumstances. It's been said, you got to let some things die if you want to make room for something new. In other words, what worked then may not be what's working now. But then again, this is a time for you to literally create all over again. Several years ago, I sold a business. And when I did, it was really painful because I lost a lot of people. I didn't make the money that I wanted. And it felt like a miserable end. But I remember checking in and thinking, wait a second, let's reset my expectation. Maybe this is an opportunity for me to give birth to something new. And you know what happened within a short period of time? I created a whole different set of habits. One of the things that I did, I started creating media for the world. I started creating and posting media as much as I possibly could. I started following Gary Vee and said, if he says that you can do 100 posts a day, I can do 100 posts a day. And you know what happened? I found a new tribe, I found a new people, I found new opportunities, and I started growing because I started adapting, and that meant that I had to create some new habits. By the way, speaking of the pandemic, do you know how many people got fat? Bring me back the Twinkies! Yes. Do you know how many people packed on the weight because all of a sudden, well, the gym said that I can't come in. I have to wait. And so they kept waiting and waiting and waiting. They didn't go running on their streets. They didn't go outdoors. They didn't get a treadmill instead. They got fat. Well, guess what? Circumstance change and you needed to adapt or you're gonna die. Because guess what carrying a fat suit is? That's like premature death, premature suicide. Instead, exercise, healthy diet, maybe positive self-talk, opportunities to get some brand new education. Maybe I gotta go for a new degree, a new certification. Maybe it's that time to jump ship and go into a new field and learn something different. Right now, do you know how many people, owners, are like clamoring for employees right now? It's so hard to find people for work. It's a perfect opportunity where owners are maximum flexible, like, yeah, we'll totally hire you for this job even though you've never done it before. But the third and perhaps the most important thing that you do is you have to identify the ideas, the beliefs that limit you and that hold you back. Because when circumstance changes, you have to step in with a more powerful mindset. If you're bred with these thoughts in this moment of, I can't do it, it'll be too hard, change is difficult, I don't have money for that. Those are nothing more than ideas that you'll use as excuses to hold yourself back. Write down a list of all your limiting beliefs. These can be fears, frustrations, or anything preventing you from living the life that you wish that you were living. Once you identify them, slowly conquer them one by one. In fact, years ago, when I had to achieve some of my highest levels of business success, I still felt a lot of negative emotion, negative self-talk. I would feel sometimes rage or anger, sadness, even depression. And it was frustrating for me because I'm like, how can I be so successful and still be struggling emotionally? And so I decided to go on a different journey. My original mentor, Dolph DeRoos, in the game of real estate said, Kris, the real estate between your 2 ears is what you got to cultivate. It was time for me to cultivate the inches around my heart. In other words, I had to figure out, why was I angry? Why was I sad? Why was I upset? What was pissing me off? And so I found coaches that helped me do just this. They helped me write down my limiting beliefs and evaluate them. And you know what? When you actually verbalize or write down and acknowledge a belief like, well, I can't do that, or I'm too old, or I'm too young, just even pronouncing it starts to sound irrational, stupid, and dumb. Limiting beliefs always are, because they're lies and they actually keep us back from what truth really is. That you're amazing, that you're incredible, that this is something that you can do. You were built for this, but that requires self-belief. Harboring any idea that destroys that self-belief or sabotages you, you got to get rid of it. And there's a system for doing that. A few years ago, I decided to write a book documenting a process that I had developed, a very simple technology for examining and eliminating limiting beliefs. I'd had so many amazing mentors that had taught me about positive mindset, but I wanted a simple system that could help me identify my limiting beliefs and then replace them with more powerful language. Because over the years, as I've done that process, I let go of my anger, my fear, my frustration, my sadness, my depression, and I didn't just have then success and wealth or a happy family. What I had was a happy human being inside of here. I became someone that really started to just love my life, and that became the priority, the most important thing. Turns out, when you face obstacles, what you need more than anything is a powerful mindset, one that says that you really do genuinely believe in yourself. And so if you have struggled with fears, doubts, and worries, I want to invite you to click a link below where you can get a free copy of my book, Limitless. I have never been happier in my entire life to give someone, you, a free book that I know that if you'll read it, it'll completely change your life. Because this really simple system really does the trick on eliminating your self-doubts, your self-worries, and puts you in a position of power so that when you face these obstacles, you're equipped with the mental fortitude to go and crush it. Click the link below and get your free copy. Kris, are you telling me that you make money by the power of your positive thoughts? That's actually exactly what I'm telling you. And if you don't believe me, I actually made a whole video showing you how to literally make more money just with the power of your mind. Check it out. From Heraclitus, the only constant in life.
Is that the right way to say it?
I don't know, Jonathan's working around it.
Heraclitus?
Heraclitus.
I'm going to go with Heraclitus.